Hi, everybody. I'm Kalan, Redwood, and my family has a small seed company in Northern California called Redwood Seeds. We've been growing and selling seeds in Northern California for about 17 years. And the last 3 years, this is the third year of the project, I've been participating in a flower trial with OSA. And basically, we've had about 6 farms throughout the West, like from Idaho, Washington, Oregon, and California, and we've been growing replicated trials of flowers to try to determine yield, um, planting information. We all have weather stations at our farm, so we're looking at the climate in our regions. And so I've been growing zinnia, marigold, cosmos, straw flower, and calendula mainly. And um, when I first started growing seeds many years ago, I definitely had like this ethos of, oh, it has to be edible. I didn't really grow a lot of flower seeds, and it's only maybe in the last 7 or 8 years that I've started growing a lot of flower seeds. And now I consistently see, like through our website sales and also on our seed racks and stores, that flower seeds are a major component of our income. And so my thinking is sort of flipped there. And this project is sort of helping me as a seed company, but also like putting myself in the position of, like, if I were a contract grower, like, what are equitable prices that need to be paid per ounce for wholesale seed sales? So go ahead to the next slide, Jared. I went back and looked at some of my data for the last just 2 years for our farm. And I know that on a broader scope, like the whole flower trial, all this data is being collected for every farm and all of the input and the yield data. And so there is going to be a better set of records released at some point to the public about all of this. But so looking at our zinnia production for the last couple of years, I've been growing Benares giant zinnia, the salmon rose zinnia, and the queen lime red. And we've been doing 2 replications of each variety. And I have been spreading mine around the farm so that my seed is also true to type. Some people have been growing all of their replications together in one field. And we've been going for about 120 plants. So 2 replications of 60 plants each. And I mostly do about 1 foot spacing. And so my first year growing, I had great yields. Like, it was just sort of that magic year where my yields were really high. And then last year, my yields were noticeably lower for all the varieties. And a lot of that, I think, is that we got early rain. So, as we know, seed growers, we really depend on kind of the dry fall, but we ended up getting rains in early September, maybe even in late August. And so the flower seeds, I was like having to rush out and harvest things early, and some things just got ruined by rain. So I did a little bit of totaling here between those 2 years and saw that for those 2 years of production, I got an average of about 37 ounces from 116 plants. And my average labor just from 2024 was 7.25 hours. Assuming that I want to make like a bare minimum of $30 an hour for my labor, I would have to be selling that seed at a wholesale price of $6 an ounce. And it's interesting because I did buy some zinnia seed. I bought some queen lime red zinnia seed from another farmer about 4 years ago, and I paid them $100 a pound. And that basically works out to that $6 an ounce. Looking at, like, if you really wanted to make a living from this, if I was going to be personally selling wholesale zinnia seed, I would probably charge double that, and I look at that, I say that also from the viewpoint of being a seed company, because I'm only putting like 40 seeds in a packet. So I put 40 seeds in a packet, and that ounce of seed, I'm going to make $100 off of that ounce of seed, so the markup can be substantial for a seed company. So let's see, go ahead to the next slide, Jared. I have a little bit about the harvest process. So I do basically the single head harvest on most everything I do. And I know that some of the farms in our project actually, they cut entire plants and lay them to cure and then thresh the entire plant. For me personally, and the equipment that I have, threshing entire plants, it just leaves me with so much debris to sort through. So I prefer to spend the time on the front of the process, and I harvest single heads when they're ripe. So that means that I go through a plot, 3, 4, 5, 6 times sometimes, depending on how much what the weather's doing and how much seed is available. So this is the first picture there. That's the queen lime red. I harvest mature heads into lawn and leaf bags. And then with this project, I started using, and I've seen this for years. I think I saw it at the California Seed Summit last year, Jared, that somebody was threshing some seed in a bucket thresher. And I was like, yes, I need to give that a try. So I've got a paint paddle on a drill and stuffing the seeds in the bucket. And it works so well for the zinnias, for marigolds, for cosmos. Because before that, I was like breaking things up by hand, basically. But this works really well for threshing. You can go to the next slide. For my zinnia seed cleaning, so I would basically thresh with the bucket thresher. I do have a winnow wizard, so I would then run it through the winnow wizard. I usually then put it through a 1/4 inch screen and then winnow wizard it again. So I have a couple of videos there. I don't know if you can play those, Jared. I don't know if there's going to be a sound. Sometimes, it's not really showing anything, is it?
I can see it on my end. Is it not coming through to you all?
I don't see it. I can kind of hear myself. So maybe that's not going to work.
I might be able. Let me see if I can open it in another window.
Yeah.
I need to try.
I've tried this before with making these Google slides, and here's another one. Yeah, that was just kind of an up close shot of a winnow wizard.
Can you see this if I hit play? Let's find out.
Floating away. This middle bucket here catches sort of midway, and I just put a sheet out to catch the rest. I'm not really interested in all of that. So. Okay, so
did that work?
Yeah, that worked.
Okay, let me play the other one then. I just have to full screen it.
Yeah, that was just an up close of the seed. So I have found that Winnow Wizard works really well with the zinnia seed. If you don't have that, then of course a fan works well too. But that screening in the middle of the winnow wizarding, it helps get out all the big chunks of the cores of the heads. And for those of you who have, if you've done zinnia seed before, you'll notice that I find most of the mature seed is at the base of the seed head. There's very little at the top of the flowers. So you can go to the next slide, Jared. That's not coming up either, but
oh, you can't see it?
I don't see that. I see part of it.
Oh, weird.
It's like
oh, maybe it's something about when I went full screen and not full screen. Maybe I need to stop sharing for a second and then reshare.
Okay. Yeah. So this year I'm only for this project only doing the zinnia trials again. So we also have been doing marigold seed production, and prior to having a winnow wizard, I had a really hard time getting marigold seed clean. So that has definitely helped a lot with the cleaning process. I've gone ahead and done some of those averages again. It's sort of the same thing. In 2024, my yields were higher than in 2025. And I found that, the labor, about 8 hours, all of these, the labor was about 7 to 8 hours of labor. But the yield on marigold seed is lower than zinnia at 22 an ounce. So to get that $30 an hour, you need to charge more like $11 an ounce. And everything was about, 100. It looks like Queen Sophia in 2024. I only managed to get 61 plants out of that. I think I had a lot of rabbits that kept breaking into my lower garden and eating marigolds, which is kind of a surprise that they really love eating marigolds. And again, I did single head harvest on that. You can go to the next slide, Jared. So I go through and harvest the heads as they're ready. And before using the bucket thresher, I really had a hard time threshing marigold seed. I remember on Thanksgiving a few years ago, sitting around with my family for hours, and I was cleaning, threshing them all one seed head at a time. But using the bucket thresher really cut down on the time needed to do that. I definitely use like a variety between using screens and the winnow wizard. So the screens will get out the seed, like the husk of the head. And then after I winnow wizard it, you can see the shot there with all the seed like coming right through that screen. This is a really critical part of the cleaning process for me, is like putting it through this size screen, which I think is about at 1/8 size screen. And all the seed just kind of comes right through it and cleans out a lot of the petals that are left in marigold seed. I have definitely seen the results of there's two kinds of marigolds that we've been growing in this. We've been growing the Tagates erecta and the Tagates patula. And so the patula is the much like smaller headed variety, which like the French marigold, which is what is in the photo here, at least the picture of the actual flowers. I'm not sure about the other ones, but it's a smaller flower. And so a couple of years ago, a friend of mine from Southern California sent me a bag of seed that he had been trying to clean that was this Tagates patula. It was a different variety, and it had been harvested like not very carefully. And so it wasn't single head harvest. I think it was whole plant or like a lot of the stem. And it was virtually impossible for me with my seed cleaning equipment and experience to clean the seed any better for him. And so the whole lot was just pretty much, not trash for him, but, he's going to have to grow it out again. So I found that like seed harvest method with flower seed makes an impact for sure. Next slide. And then we've also been doing cosmos seed production. We've done cupcakes is on the left of the screen, and the double click snow puff in the middle, and the lemonade on the, I think lemonade something. I don't think I got the name totally right there, on the right. And out of those three, definitely cupcakes has been the higher yielding variety. You can go to the next slide. In fact, I think we've all been a little bit underwhelmed by the productivity of especially the lemonade and its vigor. You can go to the next slide, Jared. That the lemonade, it also seems to like produce like really sporadically. Like some plants will become mature before others. Like it's not very uniform in its production. And I've also really noticed that the double flower of the snow puff seems to diminish its seed. And in fact, like there would be so many seed heads that they're dried up and ready, but there's like no seed in them. So the first year I had really great yields on especially the cupcakes cosmos, and then kind of so-so but acceptable yields on the apricot and the apricot lemonade. That's what it is. And the double click snow puff. And those were all single seed head harvest too. And so you'll see the cosmos seed there in that picture. It's this starburst, and I'll just go through and pick those one at a time. That orange variety is a different species than what we've been growing. It's bright lights, but the seed is similar. But then last year, the cosmos was especially bad on our farm. That there was a little bit of powdery mildew, but it was also thrips. We had a really bad year for thrips just across the board on beans. We always get thrips on beans, but the thrips on the cosmos was like detrimental. Like whole, especially the lemonade cosmos pretty much all died, and the double click. They flowered sort of, and even the cupcakes, which had been so good the previous year, I only got an ounce and a half. It was just like I'd go out there with my paper bag to do my harvest, and there would be barely anything on the plants. So it was a really disappointing Cosmos year. And I did a little bit of preventative spraying with spinosad, which is allowed on my organic, on my organic plan, but it wasn't really effective. So Cosmos, not really my favorite one. And I would definitely want to charge more money for growing something like Cosmos. And so this kind of information, it is really valuable, this yield information for people who want to get into growing flower seeds, because obviously some are way more productive than others. Some of the other flowers that we grow, obviously like sunflowers, we grow straw flower, and that was something else that we've been growing for the trial. And I just didn't put together a slide for that, but those were actually fairly productive. And we grow calendula, I grow nigella, just increasingly growing more and more flower seed. And this year I'm growing more dried flower seed, like flowers that specifically can be dried for dried floral arrangements. It seems like that's become a popular thing for market gardeners, and even myself. I've been like getting into making dried flower wreaths, so just experimenting with new varieties.